right, ladies and gentlemen of the Lore Lodge, welcome back. We are currently on the road, journeying to our first official dual location shoot. And Mattis is driving.
This is true.
He's driving his...
He doesn't have a license.
I have a license to kill, not to drive. So, Mattis, where are we going?
We are going to Centralia, Pennsylvania, which is a nearly completely abandoned town up in the Appalachians. And what happened here, the short version, I guess we'll get into it later in the video at length, is back in the 1960s, a coal mine caught on fire, and it has been burning ever since. The Pennsylvania government condemned the land and tried to claim eminent domain over everything, but enough people resisted that they had to allow a small number of people, I think it's 7, to actually remain in town, and they're allowed to stay until they all die. So, but
well,
for a while, yeah, for a while it was a popular spot for teenagers and college kids to go and like graffiti the highway, but that is now not allowed anymore, and it's illegal to do it, and they paved over it. But you know, part of what makes it such a strange place is that they didn't really demolish everything, because in a lot of cases it wasn't safe to bring the equipment in. So in some cases, entire buildings and neighborhoods have just been consumed by nature. So I've never personally been there, so this is my first time going. We're hoping to get some good footage. We've gotten some pretty cool footage of the mountains and everything on the way here. But yeah, we're gonna get into that.
So, quick question: Are we allowed to be here?
As far as I know, I mean, we're doing this for documentary purposes, so that gives us a little bit more leeway.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, as long as we're respectful and we're not trespassing on anyone's property, we should be perfectly fine.
Cool. Always like to know that we're, you know, not doing anything problematic.
Well, also, like, what is the police force of an abandoned town going to arrest us?
Well, we've arrived.
Now we just got to figure out where the hell we're supposed to be going.
Yeah. For context, the fire that is, you know, part of the whole thing. Where are you going? Yeah, part of the whole fire thing. It's all underground. So, not much to see. It's more along the lines of the fact that, like, we're currently driving on top of a giant coal fire, and it's just kind of there. Oh, what's that safety zone sign?
Go check it out.
It is unlawful to discharge any deadly weapons within 150 yards of a building without permission of the occupants.
Also, I want to give people an idea of what we're driving on here. This is ice. This is not snow. Thankfully, we got this guy.
Yeah. All reliable. What are you thinking so far?
I'm thinking I was expecting more.
Considering I've seen cops driving around here, I think Aidan's gonna get us in trouble driving on these unmarked roads.
I'm not gonna get us in trouble.
So far, the verdict. Centralia,
Kinda lame.
You can skip it. Nothing too crazy going on here.
What I was hoping for was not, you know, like some sort of shocking mystery or anything, but like at the very least, you know, a cool abandoned building we could peek inside. It is like what's got me confused is all of the like somewhat paved roads that don't seem to leave any. They're not paved, plowed roads that don't seem to lead anywhere. Like obviously there's people who still live here.
Yep.
Which is again, why? I don't know where that goes.
Pioneer Tunnel.
Pioneer Tunnel?
Oh, it's probably just through the mountain.
Oh yeah, true.
Through the mountain, secret tunnel. Anyway.
just kind of give some backstory to this whole thing. There's coal veins running through the ground, and there was a weird situation going on here. So there was an official, like, company that was doing pit and strip mining. So they were, would dig into the ground and, basically, like, if you look at, like, those giant, diamond mines that you see, that kind of thing, they would dig a big hole in the ground and dig out the coal from the sides of it. It was an anthracite mine. But there were a lot of people who would do unsanctioned coal mining, kind of like almost like bootlegging for it. And so the story behind how, I think that's the mine actually, the story behind exactly how this fire started is one of the bigger mysteries, because nobody actually knows. There's one version that blames the fire department that says they were doing what was supposed to be a controlled burn in the landfill that they had put into one of these pit mines, and they didn't properly seal it off, and the fire spread underground. And there's apparently a large enough network of tunnels under Centralia that it's just been burning. But you don't see any of the burn coming up. You don't see smoke, you don't see anything of the sort. You're just aware as you're driving through it that there is in fact a series of fiery burning tunnels underneath you. So aside from the fire department story, there's also the possibility that some of these bootleg miners who were not permitted to actually be mining in the area, knocked over a lamp and started a fire. There's no actual consensus on how it started, nor exactly how far the fire has spread or what is currently still burning. Because you got to remember, this was not your typical mine with like mine shafts that go hundreds of feet into the ground. This is literally just a giant pit that they dug. And now we're in a different town, another little old mining village. Like, this is the part of Pennsylvania where there's no difference between this and West Virginia or Tennessee or Kentucky.
Yep.
What is sustaining this town?
Well, Ashland's very different. It's a totally different town.
I know, but what's here?
Probably small businesses, and I'm sure some manufacturing things and stuff like that.
Well, Pennsylvania is just full of towns that used to be old coal or steel towns
that are just kind of dying.
And over time, part of the problem that exists, and a lot of people don't understand this about Pennsylvania, West Virginia, a lot of regions with Appalachian territory. There's nobody who wants to come in and buy up this land and turn it into something. So none of these homes have any property value. You might be able to sell to someone, but for the most part, all of this stuff was built back when there was active coal mining. In a lot of places it was steel production, but primarily with Pennsylvania and West Virginia, it's a lot of coal mining. And just over time, as the mines dried up, or the coal industry kind of has been slowly dying off as oil and nuclear power have become more common and more useful, and especially with Pennsylvania, natural gas. So you've got all these towns that existed and were thriving because of the coal industry, and then as that's wound down over the decades, they're still here, and there's people who still live here, but outside of the local small businesses that sustain the towns, diners, gas stations, all that kind of thing, you don't really have anything, and there's nobody who wants to come in and buy the houses, so people can't afford to sell and move out. There's nothing they can do, so they just get trapped here. And that's not to say that people don't enjoy their lives or lead fulfilling existences. It's just like, it's kind of sad, the lack of mobility that people who were born into these situations have. And it's a super impoverished part of the country generally. You've driven through Appalachia before. This is actually relatively nice. But out here, there's areas that don't have running water, which is just insane.
Yep.
But if you can imagine 100 years ago, 50 years ago in some cases, these were vibrant towns with plenty of life and young people, and, you know, there was a future. And as that industry died, the towns did the exact same thing, and the people who stuck around hoping that there would be a revival, they and their descendants have ended up kind of screwed as a result. You know, there's just nothing, there's nowhere to go. You know, and a lot of people think about poverty, they think about the inner cities. They don't really think about out here in the mountains, where what are people going to do? You know, what's the next step? How do you take a house that has value to you as a homeowner? It's where you live, it's where you grew up, but, you know, you can't sell it. So what do? Do you just totally start all over, or do you hope for the best? And it seems that a lot of people picked the latter option, and it was not a very good gamble. So the other weird thing that you don't quite get out here, just from the video, but aside from the car running in the background and a little bit of wind, it is silent. There is no sound. And it's, honestly, it's pretty creepy, because, like, if you look up here, even the turbines aren't really turning. Like, and we're high up. You know, this should be windy, this should be... It's just creepy. Like, it feels abandoned and old and empty. And I assume that the private property here is whoever owns the wind turbines. But, you know, I mean, turn around and just kind of get like a... All you really get, we hopped out on the side of the road. Thought we saw something. It looks like there's people that maybe take ATVs down here. But, and it's quite slippery. What caught my attention was this staircase right here. And that is not because there's no explanation for a random staircase in the woods. Because there is. In fact, there's a very simple explanation. And that's that there used to be a house right here. Or a building of some kind. And now, it's just a stretch of highway. And we don't plan on staying out here all that long, because it's not exactly safe. There's actually all kinds of dangerous toxic gases that you can run into out here. But at the very least, it's pretty fun to explore. There has been one weird thing. As we've been kind of stopping along the sides of the road, at places that are completely legal to stop, twice now, one specific car has driven past us and honked its horn. Can't really figure out why that is. Doesn't make a ton of sense. But it's at the point where it's now becoming noticeable. And I don't really like it. How you doing?
Just looking up to see if there's anything else worthwhile seeing.
Is there anything else worthwhile seeing?
No.
Ah, that figures.
Well, Centralia was maybe not the most eventful part of today's journey, but we'll get into that momentarily.
Yeah, of the number of things that happened today, that was kind of low on the list, I'm gonna be honest. So on our way out of Centralia back to Phoenixville, well, I mean, to be perfectly blunt, my inspection is very past due because I have an engine problem. It's going to be very expensive to fix.
Yep.
And it was on my list for when I get a steady paycheck again. But,
we were talking about, was it yesterday or today?
I think it was yesterday.
Yesterday we were talking about it. He was like, yeah, I'm really glad that I finally got this job, so like I can check off my list. First thing on the list is getting my car fixed. Second thing was like a couple of, like he's got a few other things
like
on the list.
Rent and credit card debt.
Yeah, rent.
Like,
I wasn't sure how open you wanted to be about it.
No, I mean, everybody's got credit card debt.
That's fair.
It's just I want to clean my slate, you know?
Yeah, you might as well. But so the fact that we were literally talking about, yeah, thank God we can finally do this yesterday, and then today we got pulled over for it.
For car issues. But
thankfully,
the cop was very nice.
Yeah. I think his name was Officer Brands. Great guy.
Yeah.
Very
really nice guy.
I mean, the nice thing is that, like, so he gave him a ticket that was essentially, it's like, get it fixed and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
he basically let us off with a warning.
Yeah, pretty much. As long as
he asked about the YouTube channel.
Yeah, so
Officer Brands, if you're watching this,
thank you for being awesome. Thank you for educating
thank you for your leniency and telling us everything that our high school driver's ed.
Yeah, so
did.
what we learned, it honestly, like, I turned to him and I was like, I'm kind of glad that happened, because didn't know that you needed to update your driver's license and your registration as frequently as you do.
Anytime you move in the state of Pennsylvania.
Anytime you move. He said within 15 days. But I mean,
this whole trip was kind of a learning experience.
Yeah. Don't trust the internet about cool places because they may not be cool.
And also, just get your car inspected when it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Because
it's going to cost you more to wait. Also, in advance, I want to apologize for the clickbait title that has to do with us getting stopped by the cops during our Centralia trip.
Oh, yeah.
That's just what was going to play the best, so that's what we went with.
Yeah.
You must understand.
I was initially thinking just Centralia is not what you think it was or think it is, but I think that getting stopped by the cops in Centralia is definitely going to get better clickbait.
Yeah, I mean, just to address that, I'm sure some of you have noticed the titles of the videos are getting clickbaitier.
Yeah. It just works.
Unfortunately, that is what attracts new viewers. So we just want to be transparent about that. Obviously, we don't love clickbait, but we try to tell you an interesting story every time, regardless of whether or not the title is clickbait.
Yeah.
So I hope nobody's watching the channel being like, oh man, you know, the title was so interesting, and then, you know, it wasn't actually exciting. Like, we hope you're still getting something out of the videos.
Yeah, and we're gonna make the titles and all that stuff relevant to the video, but just like, we're getting double the engagement that we normally got with the clickbaity
we're still
stuff.
Learning.
So we just, you know, we want to get our stories out to more people, and unfortunately, at present seems to be the best way to do it.
Yeah,
which is obviously less than ideal, but you know, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. You got to make certain compromises. We are now passing Reading, someplace that no one ever really needs to go.
I don't think I've ever seen Reading.
I've been in Reading.
Like, I've been in Reading, but I've never seen it from outside of town.
Fair enough.
Reading and Allentown are just like weird cities in Pennsylvania that I forget are actually cities.
Yeah. If you live in Reading, try and disagree with me about that. just when I say it's not worth it, try.
Ah, look, they'll divorce you for $295. That's cool. That's nice. She looks like she has some experience with divorce.
No comment.
Am I wrong? Are you gonna tell me I'm wrong?
Get real, bro. Let's see, there we are. I can do that too. There we go. We can put that as the thumbnail. That's the thumbnail that says getting stopped by the cops in Centralia. I'll just put like a Photoshop a cop car behind us. Oh, that's hilarious.
Jeez.
Anyway, Centralia wasn't that fun.
We'll talk about it a little bit more in depth on the podcast at some point.
We'll cover it more. So, final thoughts on Centralia.
I mean, honestly, my main takeaway is, like, I understand that it's a place that has a perpetually burning hell of a coal mine underneath it that has caused the ground to be unstable and prone to cave-ins, and also releases toxic gases into the air. But at the same time, I don't know, I'm an adult. Let me go explore.
Yeah.
You know, so I get it. I understand why they're trying to prevent people from doing exactly that, but at the same time, it's such a, I mean, I was gonna say it's such a unique instance, but it's not. There's 38 active mine fires in Pennsylvania. Just Centralia happens to be the most famous one.
Which is insane.
But yeah, so final thoughts. You know, still a cool story, just not much there to see anymore.
I feel like the real story is, and you were mainly covering it in the video.
It's not the town, it's the friends we made along the way, like Officer Green.
I think the real story is what you were mainly focusing on when we were in Centralia. Is less. It's less the. I mean, ironically enough, when they're for a town that has a perpetual fire going on underneath it, the fact that that's not the main story, but the real story is the death of American small towns is interesting. To me, that's interesting.
And just to give you know, a shout out to somebody who's done some great work on that phenomenon, Soft White Underbelly, I think is the name of the series. Basically goes and looks at stuff like this all over Appalachia. And he's done some great work, so I would highly recommend checking that channel out. Yeah, there's especially in, you know, in places like central Pennsylvania, there's a lot of poverty that goes unnoticed because it's not, you know, it's not in the cities. And unfortunately, a lot of these people will, you know, live their entire lives in places that just, you know, that don't have the perks that a lot of us grew up with. You know, even just things as simple as, you know, having an actual selection of restaurants to go to when you have the money. You know, we passed through a couple of places where there was like one diner in town and that was it.
Yep.
And unfortunately, that's extremely common in the Appalachians and in similar regions. So, you know, if you take anything away from this video, honestly, you know, Centralia, kind of a cool story. Like, you know, I hope you got something out of at least hearing about it, you know, and the explanation of what that place is in case you've heard of it. But, you know, if there's one thing to take away, there's a lot of forgotten people in this country who could use a serious amount of help. And they're in places you wouldn't expect them to be.
Well, it's been fun, ladies, gentlemen, children, germs, gents,
Humans.
non-humans. Thanks for stopping by the Lore Lodge. We don't know what this was.
Yeah.
We hope you can tell us. Let us know in the comments what you think this was, because I guarantee.
And if you want to see more of these that are actually like a bit more planned out and less ad hoc, if this is the kind of stuff that you're interested in, us actually going on site and, you know, exploring places and telling the story, we're happy to invest the time and effort, but you know, we just want to make sure people actually care.
Yes. Also, if you want to see ad hoc, let us know. We'd be happy to do one or two of these types of videos every now and again.
It's also the Weird Bible podcast.
Oh, yes.
Wendigoon is the last Thursday of every month.
Yes.
And in between our monthly Missing 411 video and our monthly Weird Bible podcast, we're going to be launching another show that's going to be a lot more casual, just kind of like chatting with the boys, including a few of our friends. That's going to be about just, you know, adulthood in general.
Yes.
So if you're interested in that too, that will also be up. So we're bringing you content, I think, every day, but Friday and Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, damn.
Back on that grind, apparently.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for stopping by the Lore. I want to try that one more time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for stopping by the Lore Lodge. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you again soon.
He put his whole thorn bussy into this episode.
I tried my best.
All right. See you guys.